gadgets marketed to new parents. We were ready to bring home our baby boy. In the early hours of March 13th, Damien Michael entered the world. He let out a loud cry, as if he were claiming victory over the 6-year war we had fought. Our little family was finally complete. After cleaning him off, the nurses brought our baby boy back over to us. "He's beautiful, Liz. He even has your blue eyes," Sam said, with tears filling his own. I replied, "He's perfect, absolutely perfect." Our hearts felt so full of love, they could burst. For hours upon hours, we just stared at him in awe. We obsessed over every detail, from his cute little chunky cheeks and baby's soft skin to his little fingers and toes. I marveled at this bundle of joy lying before us, sleeping without a care in the world. Even though today marked the first day of our lives together, I didn't feel like I was staring at a stranger. It felt as though we knew each other, like I had known him my whole life. We quickly traded our infatuation for exhaustion. The reality of having a newborn set in quickly. The first 6 weeks were rough. I hadn't slept or showered in what felt like years. Naps were pointless. When I was actually able to rest, I would wake up feeling even more sluggish than before. Chores were neglected, filth gathered in all corners of the house. Burp cloths, dirty diapers, and takeout boxes all piled together. Eventually, though, we started to get the hang of this parenting thing. The mountains of dirty diapers and laundry disappeared. Entire populations of dust bunnies were decimated, and I started smelling more like cherry blossom soap and less like a sweaty cow. For a while, we had peace. It was little things at first. Some nights, the baby monitor would just show static or make weird noises like unintelligible whispers. Other nights, I would open the door to his nursery, and it seemed as though the shadows fled from view, huddled together in a corner out of sight. Then it escalated. For a few nights in a row, toys that Damien wasn't old enough to play with would be out of place. At first, they would just be scattered around the nursery floor. I would pick them up and hide them away, hoping to fool whatever invisible force was moving them. I had no luck, though. The next day, after I managed to get Damien down for a nap, I tiptoed out and quietly closed the door. I was met with an obstacle course of building blocks that weren't there when I entered the room. The following night at 2:00 a.m., I woke up to find a stuffed teddy bear positioned upright at the end of the bed. The lifeless plastic eyes looking directly at me. "I really need whatever's going on to stop," I sighed with exasperation. I threw a blanket over my head and prayed sleep would come to me once more. I tried to explain these things away, to rationalize them in my head so that I could sleep easier at night. Maybe Sam was just trying to mess with me. Maybe I was just so sleep-deprived that I was having lapses in memory. I settled on the latter explanation, but much like a rubber band, it could only stretch so far before it snapped. One evening, after what felt like an eternity, Damien was finally asleep. Despite my desire to jump into bed and call it a day, chores still had to be done. I looked at the clock. 9:46 p.m. I guess Sam must be working late, I muttered to myself. I propped up the baby monitor and started on the dishes. They felt never-ending. I was trapped in a purgatory of suds and dirty dishwater. Scrub, rinse, repeat. I checked the clock again, thinking surely hours must have passed. 10:07 p.m. Maybe I should just head to bed and finish this up tomorrow, I said, feeling defeated. I dried off my hands and picked up the baby monitor. That's when I noticed that it kept on cutting to static, despite showing full bars on the screen. This is what happens when you go for the cheapest option, I sighed, smacking the side of the monitor. I must have broken it because then the audio went dead. I smacked it again, hoping for a better result, and when the audio came back to life, it began to emit an eerie lullaby. That's weird. I know I didn't turn on the sound machine. Trying to brush off the feeling of unease, I turned the kitchen light off as I headed towards the hallway. I didn't even make it 3 steps before the light flicked back on. Then off. On, off, on, off. Before I could decide what to do, the living room light started to do the same thing. On, off, every single light in the house soon joined in on this cruel joke. On, off, pop. I tried flicking them back on. No luck. Hello. Nothing, I was entirely alone. I tried to carefully make it out of the kitchen, using the light from the baby monitor to guide my way. Hello. I stopped in my tracks. The voice was coming from the monitor. The voice that replied was my own. Slowly, I turned the monitor over, hands shaking. There he was. Damien, the baby who could barely hold up his head, was holding onto the wooden slats of the crib. He looked directly into the camera. Directly into my soul. Frightened, I dropped the monitor onto the ground, sending the house into darkness. The sound echoed down the hallway, followed by cries not long after. When I picked it up, he was laying in bed as though nothing had happened. I desperately need to sleep. I entered the nursery and scooped him up out of bed, heart still racing from earlier events. I sat in the rocking chair and looked around. Nothing was out of the ordinary. The sound machine off, night light on, no mysteriously placed toys. You need to get a grip, Liz. You're a mother now, you must be brave. I tried to calm myself as we rocked back and forth. I pulled Damien close and whispered in his ear, "It's okay, baby, Mama's here, you're safe." We rocked some more in peace and quiet, both of us fighting off sleep. Breaking the silence, something whispered. "But you are." My heart stopped, I couldn't breathe. The voice was coming from the bundle in my arms. Follow for part 2.